who were unable to join us live. And so we will also share a recording of this call with you, all of you that are here, in case you need to leave early or if there's anything else you want to review. So this call is being recorded for those of you who are just coming in. Just checking my housekeeping notes here. And so, as I said, feel free to enter your questions into the chat. And we will get through everyone's information. All right, so I'm going to share my presentation with you today. I'm so excited. Awesome. You guys can see my screen okay? Does that look good? Awesome. Okay, so first of all, a little bit about us. Hallie and I, we're both retreat travel specialists. There's 3 of us here in the company. There's also our colleague, Rebecca, who is a travel professional and also one of our retreat travel specialists. We are here to be of service and to help you make sure that you get the right retreat for you. A little bit about the company. I founded the company almost 13 years ago now. It's hard to believe, but way, way back when I was the editor of a little running magazine called Trail Runner Magazine, based here in Colorado. And I started this company as a way to just offer retreats to women that I knew were out there, but you know, they just they were kind of on the periphery of the trail running scene at the time. And since it was my favorite sport, I just really wanted to share it with more women. And anyway, Run Wild Retreats has grown tremendously since then. We're now an internationally accredited travel company. We're a team of 7 women. We operate trips in 8 countries. And in 2020, we won an award from Runner's World magazine for best women-only running tours. So we've come a long way. But I just want to give you a little more information about our mission here at Run Wild Retreats, because we really view ourselves as much more than a running tour company. We really want you to have a much deeper experience than that. We want you to not only have an amazing running vacation, running experience, we want you to have space and time to get mindful, to focus on just connecting with yourself and what's most important to you, and to notice maybe how stress is affecting your health and well-being, whether it's physical or mental, and really lean into mindful running as a practice that can help you undo some of those effects of stress on your body and mind, and just maybe feel a little bit more inspiration and just have some different kinds of running experiences that you might never otherwise have time for in your usual routine and running habits. So now I want to break down a little bit more about what that really means and what you can expect to get from your Run Wild retreat. So like I said, it's more than a running vacation. And for us, we kind of view the runs as just the start of something really special. Whichever retreat you end up choosing, you can rest assured that while our entire days revolve around a really amazing running experience in the place that we are at, it's not just about the running. We give you an opportunity to really experience the destination, whether it's the culture, the history, or have wellness experiences or really meaningful opportunities to learn about a local culture and its history, its food, its environment. There's so many layers to experience here, and the runs are just the beginning. And really our relationship with you when you book a retreat with us starts long before the retreat begins. Those of you who've been on a retreat with us before probably know Hallie, because she sends lots of updates and emails to make sure that you are fully prepared with everything that you could possibly need for your retreat. So we really want you to really feel prepared and also have the right mindset for when you start your retreat. So one of the things that you can expect, hopefully, is to feel really inspired. And this comes from just having an opportunity to truly relax and be yourself. One of the things that you can really expect from a mindful travel experience is this, judgment-free zone. You don't have to worry about how you compare with other runners. You don't have to feel the pressure to keep up with other people in the group, but you can always really just go at your own pace and run in a way that feels playful and rewarding, and just not worry about what other people think. But this can be just a really amazing way to just start to unwind and undo the effects of stress and expectation, or the pressure to perform, which so many of us often feel as runners. We want you to feel really supported. And this is something that is very much by design, which becomes very clear once you're actually there in the retreat itself. But our staff are very, very intentional and aware with how they will be there to support you. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later on. But also, when you have an opportunity to support other people in the group, it can be a really empowering and rewarding way for you to connect with other people and feel your own, influence as a leader, as someone who can show up and support other people. It's just an amazing way to bring the group together and create these connections that might never otherwise happen. And this is just one of the ways in which we say that, the runs are just the beginning, because the runs are the time that we spend together where a lot can happen, and and when a lot happens on the trail, it's just more opportunities for us to come together as a group. Another great outcome is tools that help you really build your stress resilience. And this is key in today's world, when not only do we put onto ourselves the stress associated with training for the next race or the next event, or always pushing ourselves to do more in terms of physical performance. But on top of that, we get piled on with all kinds of other daily stress, whether it's professional life or personal life, or just, the stress of the state of the world can really weigh on us. And so when we're talking about mindful running, we're not only talking about ways in which you can run better, but we're also talking about tools that help you really undo those effects of stress and can benefit you in all aspects of your life and on all levels of your well-being. And so we really want you to come away with techniques and tools that you can use on and off the trail to really support your overall health and wellness. And one of the outcomes of that, when you have less stress, is you have more energy, and it feels amazing. And when we talk about transformational travel, this is one of the most common things that we just see in people, whether they're even fully aware of it or not, but they show up kind of at one energy level, and by the end of the week or the end of the 4 days together, they're on a totally different energy level, and it feels amazing. When we are unburdened from just the weight of the stress and all the things that we think about, these retreats are really an opportunity to just focus on what feeds you, what you enjoy doing, what inspires you, and have conversations and experiences that are all around those good things, then, you know, having more energy and just feeling really inspired is a natural outcome. So this is something that you can definitely expect with whatever retreat you end up coming on. So now I'm going to break down the different running levels associated with the retreats. And so this is one of the main ways in which we differentiate between the 22, 23 different retreats we have planned for next year. But it's not the only way. So I'll get into another aspect following this one. But the first thing to know is that we have 3 main running levels that we use to categorize the different retreats. And so the first one is level 1. The level 1 retreats, to give you a sense, because on our itineraries, we refer to the runs in terms of time on the trail. And so for level 1 retreats, a short run will be like a shakeout run, say like at the end of a retreat, or at the beginning of, well, the beginning of the retreat, it's usually a little bit more, but the longest you'll be on the trail is maybe 2.5 hours. And keep in mind, this includes stops for taking pictures, enjoying views, chit-chatting, you know, eating and drinking, because we have our hydration packs on. So it's not, this time on trail is not continuous running time. That's all the stopping and fun stuff during the course of the run. So with that in mind, the typical distance associated with the level 1 retreats is usually 3 to 6 miles per day. And there's always a lot of variation. So it's never going to be like 4 days of 6 miles a day. There's always lots of variation there, and each run always takes place in a different location. So with our level 1 retreats, we keep the terrain relatively easy, low angle. This is great for people who are new to running on trails. If you're not really experienced with running on ground that is rocky and rooty, you'll still have lots of interesting features and experiences and beautiful environments to run through. But you won't have any huge, long, sustained uphills or downhills, and you won't have any exposure to heights or high elevation or high altitude. So, so like I said, it's really great for people who are, you know, have a lower level of fitness, who typically only run a few miles at a time. Maybe you're recovering from an injury. We have a lot of people who just want to do a small amount of miles because they're just rebuilding after some kind of setback or injury, which is totally fine. There's still lots of really rewarding runs on these level 1 retreats. Because we always try to pick the most scenic, most beautiful places to go. And so we want it to keep all that, but still accommodate lower mileage runners. So that's what you can expect there. Now, the next level is level 2, and this is the most common level, I guess you could say. So most of our retreats would be categorized as level 2. And it's very important that I emphasize that there's a ton of variation between all those different retreats. Just because we have, you know, 10 different level 2 retreats doesn't mean that the running is all the same, because there's quite a range. But here are some parameters that you can expect. Again, the shortest run would be 30 minutes, which is usually the last sort of shakeout run on the last day, but most of the runs will be between an hour to 3.5 hours. Again, including all of those rest stops and water breaks and picture time and all that fun stuff. But here you'll see that there's going to be a lot more variation in the terrain. I mean, and it's inevitable. Some of these level 2 retreats are in Spain, like the one pictured there, and another one is in Bhutan. So inevitably, the environments are going to have a lot of variety. There's going to be a lot of variety in the trails. But again, we're very, very thoughtful and very selective with the routes that we choose. You'll encounter, beautiful, well-established trails, but you're gonna have a little bit more uphill, downhill. And of course, with any of these runs, you can walk whenever needed. So it's not like you have to be able to run all of it at all. We do get a lot of people on the level 2 retreats who have never run trails before either. And that's totally fine. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, but you don't have to be an experienced trail runner to do these retreats, because this really is designed for people who might be doing this for the first time, or maybe run a lot on roads, but not on trails. But yeah, like I said, lots of variety and lots to expect there. Now, the third category is our level 3 retreats, and this is, these ones are a step up from the level 2, but not a huge step up. I want to be clear that it's so the runs themselves are not necessarily a lot longer, though the overall mileage during the course of the retreat will be a little bit more, but maybe only, 10-15% more. But what you will encounter is definitely more challenging running environment, more technical terrain. So by technical, I'm talking about the roots and the rocks and the unevenness of the terrain. And then the environment could be considered a little bit more extreme. So the level 3 retreats include Nepal, the Italian Dolomites, and Montana. And in those places, one of the things that all those places have in common is high elevation. So the air is a little bit thinner, so it's important to have a good level of fitness. You should be a fairly fit runner to do this, to do a level 3 retreat. You do not need to be an ultra runner at all, but just for your own comfort and safety, we do recommend that you have some experience running on trails. If you've never run on trails before, I would recommend starting with a level 2 or 1. But these ones, you can expect a looser footing, looser ground. So when we talk about scree slopes, that's like that loose, rocky kind of ground, and you just have to step carefully on terrain like that. But as with any of our retreats, when we are going through tricky spots of trail, we'll stop and walk if you're not comfortable. There's never any need to run any terrain that just requires a little bit more care. With the level 3 retreats, you might need to go through a stream or just kind of hop over logs, a little bit more in terms of variety, and there may be some exposure to heights on hillsides. But again, we always stick to very well-established trails and have really put a lot of thought and research into the routes that we choose. So don't forget, as I go through this, feel free to put any questions that come up into the chat box. We'll be referring to that at the end of this presentation to start off our Q&A segment. But before we get to that, I do want to tell you a little bit more about how we manage the runs. As we said, there's a lot of incredible benefits to mindful running, but the mindful running also includes clinics performed on the trail with the retreat leader. And these clinics also help you really get comfortable on the terrain for whichever retreat level you choose. There's a little bit more emphasis on running technique and pacing for the level 1 retreats versus level 3. If you're on a level 3 retreat, you probably already know how to pace yourself well on a trail. So we'll focus more on kind of the mindfulness aspect, and for the level 3 retreats, for level 1 and 2, we'll spend more time, a greater portion of the time on trail is spent working on technique. For all of our runs, we work with professional guides, and these professional guides are either professional running guides or hiking guides, but they are experts at wilderness safety, navigation, and they help us, stay on the trail and be safe out there, and also make sure that, we always keep track of everyone on the trail. And with the support of our guides, it also allows us to spread out a little bit as a group. And this is really important because we always get a wide variety of paces among the people on every group retreat. And we don't ever want you to feel like you have to run at the pace of the person in front. So with our guides, there's someone at the front, someone at the back, and you get to spread out and just kind of go at your own pace. A little bit more about the retreat leader, because they do so much. They're more than a tour guide. They're more than a mindful running instructor. They really are there to help support and guide you through your entire mindful travel experience. And when we talk about mindful travel, we're talking about like the whole thing, not just the time on the trail. So our retreat leaders are highly trained in mindful leadership, and really are there to help you have an experience that is very mindful and intentional, but also goes smoothly to help you address any logistics or concerns that you might have before or during the retreat. Now, one of the most common questions we get from people is, well, who else is going on this retreat? Are they my age? Are they my peers? Are they the same running level as me? And as you can see from this slide, we really have all kinds of runners. We have masters runners, we have slow runners, we have injured runners, we have mother-daughter runners, like this beautiful twosome here. So many different, and so, with the wide range of retreats that we offer now, I really think we have something for everyone. You don't have to come with a friend, you can come alone. And you can find the kind of retreat that you're going to enjoy, whether it's running in the deserts of Moab, or in the, I'm trying to pick a retreat I haven't mentioned yet. Oh yes, in the beautiful hillsides of Ireland. It's amazing. So lots to choose from. But now I want to just mention, first of all, another aspect of how we group retreats that might also help you decide which travel style you're most interested in. The first one is our Cozy Comfort collection, and the majority of our retreats fall into this category or this collection. But this one is features a hotel category that is usually like charming, very high quality hotels and lodges that we've gone and scouted and selected specifically because of their proximity to the trail, their location, the atmosphere, and the kind of amenities that they offer. So this collection refers definitely to making sure that you're very, very comfortable and you have all the essentials, but might be a little bit more simple. By contrast, the Premier Pampering collection features our more high-end properties. So these retreats are a little bit more expensive, but that is because they offer more amenities on site. So some of the retreats that you might you can expect in the Premier Pampering collection are like Telluride, Vermont, Italian Dolomites, and the Sonoran Desert.
Arizona, the Sonoran Desert is a great example of one of the collections of Premier Pampering. It's a very luxurious resort there.
Thank you, Hallie. I am losing my voice because I've done a lot of talking today. Excuse me, everybody. We're almost done. Actually, Hallie, maybe you can walk through some of the things that they can expect.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is
on our trip page.
Certainly. So this is what I cover. A lot of this is my job. So when you sign up for a retreat, you will be given a personalized link to the retreat, and this is your personalized trip page. So what you'll find on this trip page is a packing list, travel info, a personalized itinerary. So if you add a pre or post retreat night or an extension, this will be reflected in your itinerary. So when you click the itinerary button, you'll see everything that you have booked and paid for and signed up for there. So there's no leaving you to have to figure out, what exactly you have to do that day. You'll just click your itinerary and you'll know where to be and what to do. This trip page also has your booking and payment details, as well as it's where you can choose certain add-ons and extensions. For some retreats, you can arrive early or stay late. Recently we've been adding extensions. So for instance, for the Bhutan Retreat, we have a whole Nepal extension where you can arrive in Nepal 3 days early before even starting the Bhutan Retreat. And then also on the trip page, you'll find health and safety info, and then great tools such as how to set an intention for a retreat. So actually the retreat begins before you even step foot on the premises. It has to do with preparing your mindset for what you're about to experience, and your personalized trip page offers all of those resources. And then your travel documents such as your waiver and your participant intake form, which is where you can let us know about your dietary needs, who you'd like your roommate to be if you're traveling with a friend, and other important tasks. So you'll also get emailed reminders from us via the personalized trip page that will show up in your email, and it'll just give you a reminder, hey, it's time for you to fill out the retreat participant intake form, or it's time to sign your waiver. And so we walk you through all of those steps. And if you've missed one, no worries, we'll contact you and you'll have everything you need before you start traveling.
Awesome. Thanks, Hallie. Well, now we are excited to take your questions.
Yeah, we have had a couple of really great questions come in. The first one is from Patricia, who says, is there less mindful running on is there less mindfulness on a level 1 retreat?
That's a great question. And I would say, no, it's not more mindfulness, but we focus more on the mindfulness as it applies to running technique, to really tuning in to your body so you can really notice your effort level and find a way to manage your exertion and just start to relax into the running a little bit more. So we spend a little bit more time applying mindfulness to the running practice. But then outside of that, all the retreats, including the level 1 retreats, have sharing circles, and those are really valuable times that are crucial to the whole retreat experience for helping you reflect a little bit more on what you're experiencing, here, or what application mindfulness might have in your life back home. So I wouldn't say it's less, but how it can be applied in the situation or in the moment and when you get home is tailored a little bit more differently.
Great, yes. And I'll also add that on all of the retreats, you'll get the same mindful running technique clinics, and mindfulness is a practice. So on the retreat, you'll learn those skills, but then they're great tools that you can hold with you for the rest of your life and continue to practice every time you go running. The second question that we got is, on a level 3 retreat, is there the opportunity to also get technique and pacing tips if the guests want to, or is it sort of an all or nothing situation?
No, I'd say that, like Hallie just said, you know, with all the retreats, it's always applicable. So with the level 3, sure, the experience level and fitness level of the group may generally be at a higher level, but there's still lots of opportunity to work on running as a mindfulness practice in a way that is totally different than what you might do at home. One of the key things that we ask you to do at all the retreats that really supports this process is to run without your watch. And trust me, that can be a game changer for some people. But what we offer is an experience that is meant to be totally different than the way you would run at home. And by way, we mean, what are you focusing on? What are you listening to? What are you noticing during that run? And so by removing our watches from the equation, it just creates more space for a different kind of experience. You may notice things that you wouldn't notice otherwise. You may be thinking about your pacing or your effort or just your whole purpose for being there differently when you don't have a watch. So that's one example of the ways in which, yes, there's lots of different ways to explore running, not just from a technique standpoint, which you can definitely get more technique feedback from the retreat leader if you would like that will help you get more comfortable on the terrain that you're in and be safe on the terrain, because that's always our number one priority, is your health and safety. And then, but then of course, you know, there's so much more that can be explored as part of the experience. So let me know if that answered your question or if you have more that you want to ask.
Totally. And just to elaborate also on the last thing you said there, you're going to be with your retreat leader the entire time. So if your retreat leader mentions something during a mindful running clinic that you wish that they elaborated on a little bit more, they're there with you the entire retreat. So you can just go ask them, hey, could you please elaborate on this thing that you mentioned during the clinic? So there's definitely not less technique and pacing tips. It's whatever, everything can be customized to your what you'd like. June says, lovely Moab pic. Thanks, June. Moab is easy to take pictures of because it's so beautiful. Somebody's wondering if we have a future retreat planned for New Zealand.
Always a possibility.
It's a possibility. We're always.
Well, in fact, one of our retreat leaders, Lucy, was just in New Zealand, and she was there to run a marathon, right? And as it happens, it was the last marathon in her quest to run a marathon on all 7 continents. And I'm hoping she'll write a blog post for us about that experience. But it's quite an achievement. And so New Zealand is one of the places on our list. I can say that much at this point, but not much else.
Yeah, perfect. Allison lives in Tucson and says Star Pass is a beautiful resort. Thanks, Allison. We're very excited to be hosting our Sonoran Desert Trail Running and Wellness retreats there next spring and fall. So we'll be there in November and in March.
Yeah, Hallie, what are the March dates for that Sonoran Desert Trail Running and Wellness retreat?
That is a great question.
In Tucson?
That's going to be March 9th through 12th.
Yeah. That one's coming up soon, you guys, and I think we still have room in that one, and it's going to be amazing. Actually, just a little bit of additional information about that retreat at the Star Pass Resort in the Sonoran Desert. Not only is it a beautiful resort and a beautiful destination with amazing trails, but one of our senior retreat leaders, Charlotte Renaud, is going to be leading that one. And she's going to be focusing particularly on stress resilient strategies for leaders. So ladies, if you consider yourself a leader and you want to get tools through mindfulness and running that will help you be a better leader, how to show up more and not be held back from being the leader that you want to be by maybe, things like stress and exhaustion and burnout, which is something we all have to really be aware of, then you should come on this retreat with Charlotte, because this is her area of expertise and she just has an amazing experience planned. So just that's a little tip from me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great one. Are meals provided? If so, are there options such as a buffet, or are the meals pre-selected? Great question, Allison.
Yeah, well, first of all, we do take your dietary restrictions into consideration in the intake form that Hallie referred to earlier. So we know if you're vegan or vegetarian or dairy-free or gluten-free, et cetera. And then as much as possible with the restaurants that we choose, you can order a la carte or there's a buffet. A lot of the hotels offer breakfast buffets. So we do that as much as possible. And so we do try to offer variety at all the places that we eat, so that you can really find something for you. So usually it always works out very well in that regard.
Yep, we can always accommodate your dietary needs. Tina says, are there plans for another Bhutan retreat in 2024 onwards? She did the level 1 Moab retreat and loved it, and just is planning for 2024. She's not sure if she can make it 2023.
Tina, I would say heck yes. We love Bhutan, and Rebecca, who's our Bhutan expert, did a whole and Hallie was a part of that as well, did a whole webinar about it. It was really specific to this year's Bhutan retreat, but we do plan on offering it again in 2024. So you can keep an eye out for that, Tina.
Yeah, and if anybody would like a link to that Bhutan webinar, we do have a replay. So shoot me a message either in the chat or maybe best via email, info@runwildretreats.com, just so I have your email. And I'll send you the replay for that webinar that we did a couple weeks ago that covered everything Bhutan related. Will we be adding more retreats in the second half of 2023?
Actually, yes. We do have a couple in the works. And so I always hate to promise things before they've been officially launched, but I think we will be offering another Vancouver Island trail running and wellness retreat in October, and that's a level 1. And then there's another international one, which I can't say yet because it's a little too early, but it's a very exciting international retreat, brand new one. I can't wait to tell you guys what it is, but we will be announcing that in early, as soon as probably January. I'm really pushing to open that in January. So if you're on our mailing list, which all of you are now, you'll be among the first to hear about that.
Yes, very, very exciting. How much free time is there on the retreats?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we know is really important to a lot of you. We actually, in fact, last spring we did a survey to a bunch of the people on our email list, and we had hundreds. I think it was 300-400 responses, and free time was something that really stood out in that feedback as something that was very important to a lot of you. So we definitely take that into consideration, and we want you to have that space that for personal time, personal reflection, self-care, whatever it is you want to use that time for. So we design the retreats to have that free time in the afternoon, at least 2 hours worth. Some days it can be up to 4 hours. So that time in the afternoon, after the running, after lunch, and before any evening activities, like maybe sometimes there's yoga and then dinner, we really want you to have at least a few hours to yourself. So yeah.
Yep. Is Charlotte going to be doing the fall Sonoran Desert Trail Running and Wellness Retreat?
I'll have to, I'm not 100% on that, but I think there's a good chance that she will. We'll definitely ask her.
Okay, perfect. And somebody asked if Bhutan is a level 2 retreat.
Yes, it is a level 2 retreat. And so I would highly recommend the Bhutan webinar for more details on what the trails are going to be like. But something to know, even though Bhutan is an extremely mountainous country in the Himalayas, we're not going to be going up into, you know, the high alpine. We're not going to be running up any snow-capped mountains. I believe the upper end of the elevation or the altitude that the runs are at is, do you know, Hallie? Maybe it's,
Let me look.
it's only like maybe 7,000 feet or so, I think.
Yeah.
We designed that one to be a level 2 retreat so that the run, we stay on terrain that is quite runnable, but still takes us through these beautiful valleys and to amazing sites. Like one of the runs takes us to a Buddha statue. It's quite infamous. And so it's just going to be a really fun, wonderful way to explore this beautiful country. So it's mountains, it's valleys, it's forests, and it's historic sites. Yeah, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, and the retreat, so the retreat starts at about 4,500 feet. And then we're going to start at the low elevation, and then we're going to make our way up. So you'll be able to adjust to the altitude as you're on the retreat. The highest point that we'll be reaching is 10,000 feet above sea level, and that is at the Tiger's Nest Monastery. But that won't be a run unless you want it to be. It'll probably be more of a hike, and we'll definitely account for the altitude in the pace of the runs too.
Yeah, and by contrast, I'll just briefly say that we have the Nepal retreat happening in October, and that one is a level 3. So if you want to do a little bit more miles and kind of get on some of that, those beautiful mountain trails, but we're not running to like Everest Base Camp or anything like that, but you get to run with world-class trail runner Mira Ray, which is going to be amazing. I think we'll do a whole webinar where we just talk about Nepal and Mira and what kind of an experience that's going to be like. But for any of you, you know, if you do, you know, if you're a good, strong runner, I would highly recommend the Nepal retreat. Okay. Back to the questions.
Perfect. Well, that's actually all of our questions. Does anybody else want to throw any last questions in the chat? I have in my notes that June and Tina are interested in learning more about Bhutan, so I'll send you the link to the webinar. Other than that, you all will receive the link to this webinar. If you'd like for more information about Bhutan, since that's been of interest and you didn't get the link, just send me an email. I'll type my email in the chat here so that you all have it, but it's info@runwildretreats.com. And yeah, it doesn't look like any questions are coming in.
Awesome. Yeah, Hallie, let me know if there's any new questions, but I will say too that we are available to talk with you one-on-one. If you want to come and talk to us and tell us about, you know, what you're looking for, what your running looks like right now, what kind of mileage you're doing or pace, or what your experience level is, and you're wondering what we would recommend for you based on that, we're happy to have those conversations with you. And so you can call us at the phone number that we'll provide, and have us call you. We're happy to have that one-on-one conversation anytime. We love hearing about what you're interested in doing, and making recommendations.
Yep, please don't hesitate to reach out. We love talking to you. We love answering your questions. So we're always here.
Awesome. Thanks for thanks for coming, everyone. And like I said, we'll follow up and look forward to chatting with you all very soon. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys. And thanks, Hallie, for saving me from my lost voice.
No problem. I'll just go ahead and stop the recording.